All right. So, do you feel limited? Or do you feel like a finite and separate entity that has a boundary, that has a limitation, that is inside a large external world? Or if you're like me, there might be this sense of, or this unanswerable question that is often ignored through seeking experiences or validation or so on. But this unanswerable question of, I don't know why I'm here, I don't know what I am, or what this is, what's going on here, what's the meaning of this? My mind can understand complex things, but for some reason I just can't answer this question. It's beyond my limit of knowing. But I do know that I have a limited time, that I was born and I'm gonna die. And I don't know what that is. And it doesn't feel right somehow. There's something not right about that. Because of the unknown. But this is something that can, so to speak, be answered. And this is answered by realizing the nature of what we actually are, or what I actually am. So the signature of this experience of mortality, of this experience of limitation, is small. The assumption is, or the belief here is, or the felt reality of this is that what I am as an individual stops at the limits of this body being separate from the external world or the universe. And what I am is limited to this separate mind, this discrete entity that I feel like I am, that is made of my sensations, my thoughts, my feelings, my emotions, that somehow lives in here, that lives within this vessel. And in that experience, living from those assumptions that we've just learned, there is this unanswerable question. There is this frightening mystery. And it comes down to the unknown, and it comes down to death. The assumption is that I'm limited, I'm separate, I'm an individual apart from the totality of experience, and I exist along a timeline. I was born and I will die. The absence of these limitations is something that can be directly realized in experience. And it's realized by investigating directly the nature of experience and the nature of these assumptions about what I am. Like the fundamental essence of identity that is taken for granted and assumed to be just the case that I am finite, I'm limited. That we may undertake this investigation to see, are these assumptions that I'm basing my felt sense of myself off of? Are these beliefs, are they just assumptions? Do they have a basis in reality? Is there evidence for that in my experience? So in recognizing or noticing or fundamentally realizing the absence in experience, the absence of any of these real distinctions of separation, any of these real markers of identity that we based our felt understanding and belief of our experience of self off of, the noticing of the absence of them, so to speak, leads to a clear recognition or a clear realization of what that is, or what I'm not, what I took myself to be, and what I'm not. And when what I'm not becomes clear, then what I am becomes clear also, but in a different kind of way, not in a way that is confirmed as a conclusion or a definition or a concept or a belief or an assumption. These are all modes of understanding from the perspective of that limited subject. This realization is something that may begin as a conviction, an intuitive sense that I know this isn't right how I'm taking myself to be, and we do some investigation and we realise that these are just assumptions, these are thoughts, these are beliefs. These are transient interpretations of what this is that come and go as an object in mind. And it might start to become clear that what I am isn't those thought objects, because I can perceive them. These definitions, these beliefs, assumptions and feelings that come and go within my experience are coming and going, are transient, are just objects of mind. What I am and what I always have been that's here right now is fully present and wide awake throughout the comings and goings of these thoughts that appear as an object within awareness, as an object within consciousness. And there might be a conviction there. Prior to the realization, there might be a conviction there that I know that's not what I am. And that can come with some beliefs, some frustration and some struggle. I know that's not what I am. I might listen to non-dual speakers and it resonates at a very deep level. But this realization goes beyond conviction. It goes beyond the subjective position and its ability to understand and relate to experience. It's so direct, so complete, that it's not something that can be doubted. because those doubts appear as thoughts and emotions that come and go within what I fundamentally am. This is something that's before doubt. So, what are you that is wide awake and aware of your experience right now? We'll look into our experience, we'll dilate the aperture of experience out to notice the wide awake and aware self-knowing quality of experience as it is directly and immediately. And we can ask, what am I that knows my experience? What am I that's clearly here, clearly is, and is aware of all of the movements of mind that might come and go and appear in order to try and describe a definition of what I am. As a thought appears in consciousness, that appears as an object of experience. Something that what I am is aware of as an object. Is there something here that isn't an object in experience? Every object in experience, every thought form that appears in my experience, I know, I am aware of. So I can't be that if they come and go, but I always am. Completely present, completely wide awake. Can I objectify myself without a thought? What is it that I am that's here before, during and after the movement of thought and mind? So there might be definitions that come in to say, I've learned, I know, I am infinite awareness, or I am. And those are great definitions or designations, but we're getting even closer now to what those thoughts appear as: the substance of consciousness, the fabric of awareness, the fabric of presence, in and as which all experience, complete all experience, appears. The conscious, aware substance of the thoughts as they appear. What am I that knows that? What is this self-aware knowingness that is the very fabric of experience? What are its qualities? It doesn't exist in time. Time appears within it as a thought interpretation. It's infinite. Infinity being not a measurement of time, but the absence of time, which also doesn't exclude the appearance of time. wasn't born and doesn't die, beyond birth and death, transcendent of life and death, completely immortal right now. The appearance of birth and death appears within what I am. What I am isn't subject to birth and death. Infinite capacity for the expression of this appearance. Yet any movement within this appearance, no matter how violent, no matter how chaotic, isn't touched by the pristine and indestructible awareness within and as which it appears. That's what you are. Everything else comes and goes, everything else has a doubt. This is doubtless. Or this is, you could say, before doubt moves in mind as a thought form. It has an infinite capacity for experience, but also doesn't need to experience. What is it that can't be removed from experience? Can't be viewed as an object because it is the infinite subject. It's right here, and it is what you are. You're looking from it. You're hearing from it. And it's not apart from the appearance and the sound. It is the thinker and the thought simultaneously. It's clearly here, but also can't be found in the objective sense. So it is here and isn't here at the same time. It both exists and doesn't exist at the same time. Is the essence of everything and the void of nothing at the same time. That's what you are. So how can we realise this with not just conviction, but beyond any shadow of a doubt? What seems to be standing in the road is belief, is assumption. Essentially, these are thought forms. But they've culminated in the context in which they talk and operate for our whole life, in some cases, or a very long time, to generate this strange assumption that is deeply felt as a belief, which ends up being deeply felt as the experience of myself. But if you're watching this video, something in you knows that's not right. There's something wrong with that. There's something wrong with the notion that I die, that I am limited. And that intuition is correct because it's not true. But the context in which and it's like a collective thing as well, in which these thoughts form this narrative, form this relationship with something called life, generates this kind of energetic illusion that ends up feeling very real. And it's all based off of assumption and belief. When we look for the evidence, those beliefs break down. It can happen gradually and it can dawn this way, or it can come in an instant. That this feeling of limitation, this feeling of not rightness and the associated suffering, it is just based off of a powerful illusion, but it is an assumption. a belief that there is concrete evidence to support that, pardon me, that I am a finite, limited entity, a small me in a big world. That any part of my experience is separate from what I am. We take on this identity that feels limited and separate. And of course, that's frightening. Of course, that's going to lead to suffering. Because it's just a role that we are playing. And as this realization clarifies, the role goes on for a while, and that's what makes this path difficult. That through habit force and through fear of the unknown, that we cling on to this narrative that we're telling ourselves about me, the seeker who's going to gain something called enlightenment that's going to fix all my problems. And when we do that, when we operate from that position of the separate subject, we overlook what's already here and what's already complete, but can't be found objectively, can't be found as an objective experience or qualities, because what you are has no qualities, or it has all qualities. And the key very much here is the subject, the me, the identity that is here all the time, that persists across a time narrative, that feels like me, that feels like what I am. And in order to understand anything, I have to relate to my experience as something separate from it, as the experience being something that's happening to me at a distance. When we look for this, what I am, it can have the effect of relaxing that looking out for something else. When we look back towards this assumed subject, it can kind of short circuit that function. And what can kind of come into view, so to speak, limited ways I can describe this, come into view or come into focus from no particular position, is the assumption of that me, in that it's not even there. This thinker in the mind isn't here in the way that thought, through its context and content, suggests that it is. By pointing out at these thought narratives that I use to describe my identity and what I am and what I'm doing, where I'm going, what I want, by pointing the attention at these thought objects and relating to them, we overlook where that position is. But when we look back, we might see that assumption, what they all backwards extrapolate towards, what they all point back to is the thing that we're looking out from, isn't there. But there's something that is here, that's what you are. And it's already inherently whole, inherently complete, inherently at peace, untouchable by the content of experience, beyond the reach of the worries and the problems of the individual, completely beyond the reach of that, but doesn't exclude that, because that is the very substance from which it's made. And life and experience takes on a very different quality when this realization is clear and embodied and felt. It can be felt viscerally. It's not a mental understanding. It doesn't have the signature of this entity, this mind entity that thinks and understands and looks at experience and looks for a better experience. It doesn't have that signature. It's not like that. It's visceral. It's infinite. It's infinite depth, infinite closeness, infinite completeness, infinitely expansive, and it engulfs all of sensation, experience, identity, everything, the path. It engulfs all of that. It is that. It's embodied inherently and naturally as what you are, as what this is. And it's not subject to anything you can imagine or remember in your life that caused suffering. It's not subject to that. Everything becomes lighter. Everything becomes more beautiful. The self-knowing knowingness, this ever-present awareness, shines through an experience as the primary reality, the primary experience of what I am. And that doesn't include anyone else. Sorry, that doesn't exclude anyone else. That includes everyone else. All of manifestation. The outside world doesn't seem like the outside world anymore. It becomes inside what I am, so to speak. It becomes me. It becomes my expression, but not in the sense of the personal identity. And it's unshakable. Its simplicity is an enormous release, and its flexibility is infinite freedom. So as I'm talking now, if you've watched this far, that these words, you can close your eyes and listen to these words and know or feel that this is you talking to yourself. How many people watch this video, but you're the only one that hears it right now? These words are yours by that you're hearing it. There's no separation between David talking and you hearing. In the hearing directly, there's no delay. It's completely simultaneous. It's completely without separation. This is what you are, the universe talking to itself, clarifying its own nature to itself through these apparent multiple forms. It's quite beautiful. Anyway, that'll do for now, and I'll talk to you next time.